Hello, welcome back. So in today's session we're going to talk about the stress bucket. I'll write the name of the people that created the stress bucket theory on the screen somewhere, so it should be appearing any moment. So I want you to imagine that you have a bucket, and everybody's bucket is a different size because we can all deal with stress differently. But everybody's got a bucket. And if you imagine at the moment the bucket's empty and you have a pail of water, and that the pail of water actually represents your stress. So let's say that you have financial worries. Then you get the pail of water and you can tip the water in, and the water level from the bucket starts to rise. You may have health concerns. Tip it in and it starts to rise even more. Family concerns. Work concerns. It doesn't matter what your stress is, but what happens is everything you get starts filling up your bucket. Now, if you imagine that your bucket is right near the edge, near the rim of the bucket, and that you can't actually cope with much more stress. Now, that's where most of us tend to live. We tend to live with our bucket very, very full. And then normally what happens is we do something quite simple, like drop a drink. And all of a sudden that extra bit of stress goes in our bucket, and the stress level we can't cope with because the bucket cannot hold any more stress and it starts overflowing. Now that's the point where we can't cope, when we end up doing one of two things normally. We either start screaming and shouting or we start crying. And neither is right or wrong, or neither is wrong, should I say. That's just the way we react to stress. I always cry. Yeah, and other people shout and scream. But what happens is when we drop that last bit of stress in there, so it could be just dropping my drink, it will overflow, and that's when you have your breakdown. Now, a lot of people will say to you, but Sharon, why are you crying over a drink? You just spilt it, doesn't matter. But you're not. It's the fact that your stress bucket is full. It doesn't matter what it's made up of, it's the fact that it's overflowing. Yeah, that causes us not to be able to cope. So the way we deal with this is we have to add a little tap to the bucket. So if you think of it like a little wine tap on a wine box. And what we can do is we can make sure that we open the tap and let the water out every single day. Now, how do we open the tap is the question. Well, obviously one of the ways is mindfulness. So people say to me, Sharon, how does 1 minute of breathing help me? How's that going to reduce my stress? But what you're actually doing is you're opening the tap for a minute and letting the water come out. So our aim is to let the water level come down so it's not at the top. Because I guarantee you every single day you are going to get more stress, because that's part of life. Which also means then every day what we need to do is open the tap. So we need to build in strategies to open our tap. So whether it be mindfulness, whether it be meditation, coming into the present moment, it could also be doing something that you love. It could be a hobby. It could be going to the gym, it could be running, swimming, spending time with friends, reading, sitting down at night and just watching telly. Quite a lot of us just relax, don't we, in the evening? So whatever allows you to relax, that's what you need to put into your stress bucket. Well, that's how you open the tap. So if you have any hobbies or anything like that, quite often we have hobbies and we love doing them, and then we just get too busy and we forget about hobbies. We think they're not important. We think we haven't got time to do those hobbies. But actually they're very important because they open our stress bucket. Now, if you're going to be dealing with a stressful situation, then what you have to do is make sure that before you go to the stressful situation, that you have opened your tap and reduce your stress levels down as far as you possibly can. Because if you're going into a stressful situation, you know it's going to be stressful, then you need to leave enough room to fill your bucket up without it overflowing. So if you've got a stressful situation, perhaps you've got a hospital appointment that you're a little bit worried about, then perhaps what we could do if we're going to the hospital and you know it's going to be a stressful day. There's nothing you can do about that. It's out of your control. It's going to be a stressful day. So perhaps what you could do is the night before you can make sure that perhaps you have a nice relaxing evening. Yeah, spend the evening relaxing, however you relax, and opening that tap up, getting it down. In the morning, making sure you leave enough time to get to the hospital. Anything like the hospital where I live, parking is terrible. So knowing that I've got to go to the hospital, I would allow enough time to ride round and round and round to try and park. But you know that in advance, if you've researched that in advance, then you're going to get there nice and early. So the whole idea of when we're going into a stressful situation, it may be the hospital, it may be we're doing a presentation, it may be a meeting at work, it could be anything at all. If you know you're going into a stressful situation, then make sure you open the tap and relieve your stress bucket as far down as possible. So then when you're in the situation, it can build back up again. But here's the important bit that people forget. So once you've been through that stressful situation, your bucket's going to be nearly full again. It's only going to take dropping a cup of coffee to make it overflow. So the important thing to remember as well is once you've been in a stressful situation is to open the tap. If I've had a visit to the hospital and it's been very stressful, I would go to the local Costa, that's in the hospital, the coffee shop, and go and get myself a nice cup of coffee, perhaps a cake, but just to relax. So after my stressful situation, I'm opening the tap and I'm lowering my stress levels. So it's very important to do that after as well as before a stressful situation. So perhaps now understanding about the stress bucket can show you the importance of why we do 1 minute of breathing, why we're walking along the street and noticing what's happening, because it can lower our stress bucket. Now what I've done is I've added an ebook to the end of this session, which is the stress bucket. So you can print it out and write in there what causes your stresses and what you can do to relieve them. So do print those out and have a go at it, have a go at filling it out. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.